It's a real pleasure to be here in Western Marble Arch Synagogue and to welcome you, Rabbi Daniel Epstein, to take part in our interviewing series on Rabbi Sacks. So I wanted to ask you a first question about your experience, your encounters with Rabbi Sacks.
So he came into my life in a very strange, interesting way, I would say. I was living in Bet Shemesh, wife and 4 kids, minding our own business in my public relations life. And somebody gave me a call, a good friend, and said they're looking for somebody to lead the chief rabbi's office. And we had these most extraordinary conversations, and they were lovely. It turned out that I didn't get the position, but what Rabbi Sacks said to me was, I'd like you to think about getting involved in Anglo Jewry, British Jewry again. We were living in Israel, I'd been there for 10 years at this point, and I thought about it, that actually I want to become a United Synagogue rabbi. He was delighted and encouraging.
Can you tell us more about his involvement here in this beautiful Western Marble Arch Synagogue?
He was the rabbi here from 1983 to 1990. So this was his last, as it were, communal position before he went into the chief rabbinate. So this is where he had his, as it were, his, I would say, a playground, to chance to get to know people, to enjoy them, and to deliver all sorts of things, both as Rabbi Sacks, the man, and also the Rav of a Kehillah.
This place is known to be one of his spiritual homes, I would say, because he came back here a lot, didn't he, after his period as chief rabbi?
He did. It's a fascinating synagogue. It's not a suburb. So it doesn't have that instant community feel that you'd normally find. So you have your morning community during the week, you have your evening community, you have your Shabbat community, you have your Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur community where everyone comes out in force. So for me, you need to be many things to many people. I think that's what Rabbi Sacks also was when he was here.
Would you give me a tour around?
I'd be delighted.
Great.
Be delighted.
Let's go.
So imagine people come here, this is the central London synagogue. It's not your suburb, so you don't go home for breakfast and then go out.
Okay.
So this is a place where we sit down for a bit of breakfast and maybe a Dvar Torah. And in the late 2009, there was a real sense of doing something special. So they redid the hall, and somebody wanted to put up quotes of Rabbi Sacks. And he said to him, if I come to you with a bunch of quotes, will you choose the ones you want? And so he did. So we have these.
So this is really exciting.
Yeah.
So Judaism is not a religion of the solitary self. The soul in private communion with God. It is about the life we share and the things we create together. And this, I think, together with this one, we have conquered every distance except one, the distance between human beings.
These aren't just arbitrary quotes of his that he liked. This is a room that's supposed to be for people trying to build a community. So every one of these pushes you to see your place in a community. It's not a place of the solitary self.
Right.
We need to figure out the distance between human beings. It's not about power, it's about influence. These are all quotes that are the soft politics of community. The writings themselves have enough space in them for people to already start commenting and offering another layer. So I like what he said, but, or I really like this quote, but I think, and that sense, that permission to take what he'd written and just to keep going with it is very much, I think, in a sense, what we feel with the Torah also. You can add your own layers of interpretation.
As somebody in academia, I notice the fact that there are no quotation marks and no references to particular books or page numbers. The question is, are we supposed to guess? Is this a test on how well we know the Rabbi Sacks literature?
I think the beauty is that it's not quoted. You know it's his because he chose them. And the fun part, I think, is to say, what does it say to me? Because each book has a particular reason, and he wrote them at a particular time for a particular response to a question that was bothering him. And I love that idea that there's nothing that we can't look at. And what was it about?
So change is not threatening. So long as we keep firm hold of the values by and for which we live. Travel with confidence so long as we have a map. We can jump with safety, knowing that there is someone to catch us as we fall. Change is something that all members of a community will face, and it relates back to this idea of time. Time changes us. We all go through huge changes over different points in our lives and for our lives. And I suppose this gives voice to that notion of embracing change.
We do.
So what's the map?
In Rabbi Sacks' terms, there's always that feeling that he sets out an idea, and gives you two things to work with. So look at this. Change is not threatening. That's the general message. But we've got two things to do. You either travel with confidence or jump with safety. I don't even know whether it was intentional or his natural sense was there was always a balance in his words. There was a real symmetry to what he was trying to say. And then again, it's easy to read and it's calming because he has actually accessed, I think, aspects of the way we talk and want to hear things. And that's how he speaks and that's how he writes. And
it makes you want to sit down and eat breakfast.
Yeah, all you want to do is just
with your day,
spend your day here. So I really love that. Yeah. But my favourite one is behind me.
Okay.
What we want to do meets what needs to be done. That is where God wants us to be. And so the question is always, why am I here? What am I supposed to learn from this? Or Rabbi Sachs, the one word that changed everything is not how shall I respond, it's how then shall I respond. How shall I respond is just give me a response, but how then means based on what I've just understood of my current situation, what's my response supposed to be in response to the stimulus I've just experienced.
And here again, this idea of time and movement as well.
People would hit difficulties in life, which is where often the rabbi sort of will step in or be asked to come in and, Rabbi, you need to help me, or I need to ask you a question. And it's constantly, well, we are where we are. So you can't deny that. The question is, either how do we get here, or what would you like to do from this point onward?
So it's our task to search out the divine purpose for our being.
Well, that's the basis of, I think, our faith and all faith. And what Rabbi Sachs would have been talking about, there's a reason that we're here. And so, figure it out. So this is the Bet Midrash.
And here is the famous Sachs shelf.
Yes, we all talk about the Sachs shelf. All the books that we know and enjoy. There's even books in different languages.
Some of the old ones.
Yes, we've got the old ones. This was the very first book he ever wrote.
I know, that's why I picked it up.
Yeah, this is the very first one.
I've not seen many copies of
Torah
this.
Studies.
1986.
Yes, that was it. The one which is interesting also is that obviously you know he's been translated into multiple languages.
Yeah.
So this is him, he's been translated into Portuguese. They really are fantastic, even some of the lesser known little pamphlets, Morals and Markets.
I've never seen
Jonathan
that.
Sachs, he gives this incredible idea that a market is a free mathematical algorithms, and yet
I've got one of the earliest philosophical books, Tradition in an Untraditional Age, which has this incredible, one of the first discussions of what modern Jewish thought should be, the failure of the Enlightenment, called The Agenda for Future Jewish Thought, which is a really, really powerful essay. And here he looks at some of the major modern Jewish thinkers, Rabbi Soloveitchik, Rav Kook, Hirsch, and others, and really kind of spells out what he believed the problems were in modern Jewish thought. You know, that Jewish belief shouldn't have to relinquish its primary theological categories, revelation, redemption.
one was pining for the days when a great philosopher would also be a rabbi and a physician, and the Maimonides type approach to everything. There's no reason you shouldn't be able to do all of them together because they're interrelated and they shouldn't be developed separately.
This is also one of the very, very
sought after ones, So this is where he wrote this for the 125th anniversary of the United Synagogue, but he wanted to show them what does it mean to build a community of faith. So ownership of your pathway is, again, I think what he was
very literally quite the philosophy.
And so that, I think, is a really wonderful way to think about community. You build it wherever you are, knowing that the ultimate community is Jerusalem, and the ultimate community of communities is a messianic Jerusalem where we get back everything we believe will be God and the people and the Torah and the land all coming together and working in this uniformity. And in the meantime, we do what we can, where we can, when we can, how we can.
The unfinished task. Rabbi Epstein, it's been a fantastic morning here at Western Marble Arch. Thank you so much.
Thank you.